Good morning to those on the left coast and good afternoon, early afternoon for our friends in Central Canada. My name's Jeff Willis. How are you today? I've got with me Kevin Deere and Gary Morris. I'm just going to quickly run through what we've got going with you this morning. We did one of these on Thursday. We had, I think, about 450 participants and some really good feedback from people after the fact, including those that are on our CRM steering committee about things that we need to continue to work on to deliver this at the end of March. So yeah, it's just the three of us today. I'm going to give Gary an opportunity to give you a bit of insight as to the DLC group perspective and the influence that he and other people within that group have had with us in relation to what we need to create and deliver for everybody. And I just want to say to those of you that are already coming in with the idea that you're in contact customers, whether it be Client Manager or Nexa, our goal is to really give you everything you've come to know and love on the previous system, plus a whole lot more. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Gary. Gary's going to give you a little bit of insight as to some of the thinking behind what we're trying to accomplish. And then we'll come back and talk to you a little bit about what Kevin's going to walk through for you in our presentation today. So Gary, it's all yours if you're ready.
Awesome. Good morning, gentlemen. Thanks for having me. To all of you tuning in and giving us a little bit of your time to go over the new Velocity CRM. Thank you very much. I know you're all incredibly busy and we'll hopefully make this very worthwhile. So it's interesting from my perspective. I've always from day one had a bit of a burr in my side over the consistent comments that we hear from Canadian lenders, and it's always we're not going to pay you beyond the very first time you bring the client to us, because we already get these clients renewing with us at somewhere between 85 and 95%. I mean, I've heard every one of our partners at different events say, God, I'm renewing at 90%. Like these customers you're bringing me are very sticky. So the debate has always been, who owns the customer? And the mortgage agent says, well, I think I kind of own the customer because I built that relationship with them. I brought them in, I funded that mortgage. And the bank says, well, actually, I think that we own the customer because we paid you for that customer. We paid you a commission of 100 beeps on that customer. Well, the thing that really bugged me is that, I realized, like many of you have early on, that it's actually the customer who owns the customer. So the only reason why the banks do a much better job than us is because they have more stay in touch points, whether it's, digital statements, whether it's paper statements, whether it's change of activities, whether it's, cross banking services. So they have a much deeper relationship with that client typically after the fact. So, we were huge subscribers of the Nexa CRM platform for many years. The DLC group had more than 3,000 users on that platform, and a really good platform. It had all kinds of triggers and mortgage anniversaries, and you could parse your data and look who was under what rate, and you could market to it. But what we found still, even with that, is that it was a really good system out there and very effective for the DLC group, but it was still only halfway there. And, what has always really bothered me is that there wasn't a system available out there in Canadian finance that would not only take care of all of your past customers, but would actually help you bring in and create new customers. So we have two buckets of customers. One are the mortgage clients we've done business with, and some of us do a better job staying in touch with our clients than others. Some of us use, Liz at Western Broker Services. Some of us have done a better job with Nexa. Some of us have our own CRM. But even the very best CRMs are typically a newsletter once a month and maybe an outbound call once a year. And, I realized that was only one bucket. The second bucket was anyone that we know, anyone in our circle of influence, any of our friends or family or, parents on our kids, sporting teams that we sort of know and they know what we do. But because we're out of sight, we're sort of out of mind. And, I said, we need a CRM that has two accounts, one for past customers and one for all customers in progress that could eventually be our customers if we just did a better job staying in touch. So that process became the ignition point of Velocity CRM. And a lot of you know that Manulife owned that Nexa CRM. So that Nexa CRM was a very good CRM in the Canadian finance space. It wasn't only the DLC group that was using it. Many other competitors and individual brokers and teams have been on that. So When they decided to sunset that, and we had the opportunity to take over that sunsetted platform because it's been such a huge part of our business, we thought, what a great time to bring in a team of engineers and build the best CRM in the Canadian finance space. So the new CRM, and these gentlemen are going to walk you through it today, but the points that were really important to me on it were the points that would actually generate business for you. And, so on the new CRM, we put together a program that will not only market and stay in touch with your past customers, but all the customers in progress. And it's not going to just stay in touch via email like so many other CRMs out there, currently operate. The new CRM is 5 tiers. There's 5 rungs on the ladder that we must climb in order to make it incredibly effective. And I use this as an example first. So, if you look at military, and military goes into, occupy or take over a country or settle down, upheaval or whatever it may be, they don't just go in with ground troops. They'd be in big trouble, right? They'd be very, very ill-equipped and not very effective. They go in with ground troops. They go in with airstrikes. They go in with drones, Black Hawks, they do all kinds of intelligent briefings in advance. So when they go in there with a multi-prong attack. And we have to do the exact same thing in business. So we have to be able to communicate with our customers and our customers we want to do business with in the way that they receive. And for years, email was a good way to do that, right? But the problem with email these days is only, 25 to 30% of all emails you send are even opened or read these days, right? So it's lost its luster a little bit, so much spam and so much communication. So our new CRM program is going to market to all of your customers and anyone that you have in client, anyone that you know that you haven't done business with via 5 ways. Number 1, email, as we just talked about, right? That's still very timely. Still 30% of those are read. Number 2 is snail mail. Very, very high glossy, incredible, well-presented, timely marketing campaigns and initiatives and debt consolidation and time for a mortgage checkup and all kinds of, messages going to the customer via snail mail. Snail mail is actually vogue again, right? Because we don't get much snail mail over the last few years. People want snail mail. We know they get it. It comes to your mailbox. It's personally addressed, and we actually read it. So email, we're going to market on your behalf to your clients. Snail mail, SMS, text messaging. We all know that the fastest way to get a fastest response, and it's deemed to get a fast response and built that way, is text messaging, SMS, text messaging. So that is going into our new CRM. The 4th way that we're going to communicate to all of your customers and customers that you want to do business with is via social media. We have to go to where our clients are. And almost everyone is on one platform or another on social media, right? Reading and getting updates and getting their news from there and posting pictures of family. So we have to be there. And the 5th piece of the CRM, the new Velocity CRM, is outbound calling scripts. Now, we won't call you customers for you, but we will create great timely scripts for you and give you the frequency of calls. And we'll actually create scripts for you so you can have your assistant and office support make those calls for you that are very impactful, that will work just like you making these calls. So we're super excited about this because, we want to make sure that not only do we help you stay in touch better so you get more of those renewals and refinances that are going to the banks right now at sort of 90+%, but we want to generate another 15, 20, 25, 30%, 40% per year on new business. We call it the ping and ring campaign. So our entire focus is to make sure that anything that we create, once you are using our database, your phone pings and your phone rings, right? It's all about generating leads for you. Now, a couple of caveats. I promise you have our word that this is a utility. So Newton, Velocity, this program is a utility. So we are doing business with and have agreements in place with every brand in Canada. So all of our competitors, not only the DLC group. So it has to be operated as a utility. So what that means, and I want to be really clear with this because, I've heard some competitors say, well, I'm a little uncertain and I know the DLC group has an investment in this company, right? We give you a data pledge. What that means is your data is your data. Your customers are your customers. We will never market without your approval. Matter of fact, if you want us to do all the marketing on your past database, you have to actually sign off and tick the box first. If you want to look what's going out before it goes out, by all means, you'll have that option as well. But it's really important that everyone understands how committed we are to this. There is nothing that I and our team and our steering committee, as an industry are focusing on more. We think that this CRM is going to be like something you have never, ever, ever seen. And honestly, think about it this way. Who better than the number one mortgage originator in the country doing, 125,000 new mortgage transactions every single year? Is there ever, is ever going to be better to actually build this kind of program for us? So the other thing that you'll notice, and I know Jeff is going to probably talk about it today, we just recently announced an API out. So anyone on here right now that is working with any competitive platforms, I don't care if it's Scarlett, I don't care if it's Finmo, I don't care if it's, an Excel spreadsheet, Blue is a great company. There's a million other CRM and software companies. If you want to plug in to Newton, you can plug in. We will allow it. We've just come out with a two-way API, which also means that put your data in and take your data out whenever you want. It's a utility. We're not in the business of cross-selling your customers. We're in the business of giving you a single solution that not only does, deal submission, but a CRM, payroll, does compliance, does marketing of ancillary products. So I just wanted to sort of give you maybe a bit of the background of why this was so important to all of us. And I wanted to give you my commitment that, this is the biggest initiative that we have ever driven, this Velocity initiative. And this CRM program, when we launch it on April 1st, I think it's going to be outstanding. Is there going to be the odd, revision that we're going to have to make or adjustment or change? Of course. That's what business is all about, getting better, getting feedback. But I can tell you our commitment to doing this and taking your feedback, just like we've done with Velocity to this point, is absolutely our critical task, absolutely our focus. So I'm really excited about it. I've been on the steering committee. This has been a huge driver for me. These 5 tiers of staying in touch, right? Email, snail mail, SMS, text messaging, social media, all those platforms and outbound calls is going to create more pings and more rings for you than ever before. And those who are already on, who have been on, one of those 3,000 customers in our group that have already been on Nexa, wow, hang on to your hat. I mean, it's going to be such a beautiful transition for you, an easy transition, but the amount of business that we're going to bring your way is going to radically increase this year. So that's our driver. That's our commitment. I wanted to make it really clear just from me at the very top, along with our data pledge provided from, the team of at Newton, that your data is your data, your customers are your customers, and your API is available to go in and out as you please. And we will let any other platform out there plug into ours, right? We really have to be Switzerland. We really have to be a utility, and that's our focus. So thank you very much, Jeff. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted me to cover, but I think that gives you a quick synopsis.
No, great start. Great jumping off point. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.
So Kevin, I'm just going to ask you to go back to the agenda just for a quick moment. Thanks so much. Just to give you an idea today, everybody, what we're going to show you, what Kev's going to show you are basically some screenshots, give you a sense of the evidence of work that we've already been doing with the steering committee to build the new CRM. So these are not live, able to work in yet. So where we're at right now is that for those of you that are Nexa Client Manager users, the people at In Contact have already developed a means for which you can extract your customer data out of. In fact, there's some videos on that. We'll make sure they get distributed again if you haven't seen them, plus a notification. And just as of Friday, they launched a second video that talked about how to extract information about the templates that you've got in that platform. Our next jobs will be, in addition to showing you the user experience inside the CRM functionality in Velocity, is to then build for you an import tool and then our own sort of template creator. So we'll probably be inviting a number of you back to have another look, probably near the end of February, about that next stage. So this is much more about showing you the framework, give you a sense of what your experience could be like to work in it, but these are not working wireframed processes yet. That's what our team is working on right now. So Kev's going to show you a little bit about what your experience will be inside of that. And then we'll probably have an opportunity to answer some questions that people may have as well. I'm going to ask people, if you don't mind, I'm going to, as I turn it over to Kevin, I'm going to manage the Q&A section. So if you have questions, really like you to put them in there versus in the chat. More than happy to have you chat, but we're certainly going to try to address the Q&A as best we can. I also want to let people know that we have recorded both the session we did last Thursday and today, and we will see about getting one of those two, whichever we think went the most smoothly, out to everybody to share with colleagues, with their team, and just have as reference point. So that'll happen before probably end of business Thursday of this week. So I want to let you know about that. Last thing before I turn it over to Kev, we referenced this steering committee. So what this is basically is a thinking that all of us are smarter than each of us. So we've brought in people from each of the networks. We've brought in broker representatives, people that are keen on running their own CRMs within their own brokerages, people that have worked with third-party CRM systems. We've researched about 6 or 7 market solutions that are CRM solutions. And we brought all that brain trust together to say, okay, guys, what can we create? And that's what we've been doing. And we've been meeting probably, Kev, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but on a bi-weekly basis, just to touch base and to make sure that we're staying aligned and we're bringing out all of the things that we're committed to. So it's really been working quite well. And as Gary mentioned, the one thing I just want to say again is that we have launched an API out. So if you want to populate your own CRM, you don't want to use our CRM, or you like what you've already got, or it's so well entrenched in your processes, that's now available to you. Call our Velocity API out. It's in both on our app store inside Velocity, as well as on newton.ca/developers. So for anybody who wants to look into that, we can help you with that information as well. So with that, Kev, I'm going to turn it over to you to kind of walk through for people kind of what people's experience will be coming from the landing page, going to the console, and talking about this new closeout process that we've got so much great feedback about. So I'll put myself on mute and manage the Q&A button here for us.
Great, Jeff. I just noticed we actually had 5 questions in there already. Just want to know if you wanted to address any of those before we got started. Okay. All right, everyone. So thanks again for joining us. Anything of note we should talk about yet, Jeff?
No, Kev, I think we'll come to the Q&A as we get a little long in the presentation. I think it's been a lot of talking. I'd like to do a little showing for a bit.
Okay. So at this point, again, thanks for joining us today. My name is Kevin Deere. I'm the VP of Broker Experience at Newton. What you should be seeing on our screen right now is a wireframe of our new Velocity CRM homepage. The homepage is really meant to give you a snapshot of your whole communication strategy that is built for you within the Velocity CRM as well as Velocity. As Gary said, we've really focused on sort of 5 touch points. And you can build, number 1, different campaigns. So what you should see right in the top here is the number of active campaigns that you've created for yourself. And you can have default campaigns that we have built for you that you're automatically opted in for. You can turn those off, create your own. You have as much flexibility as what you want to participate in right off the get-go. Of those campaigns, they're actually broken down into different types. So we have contact campaigns. So that's anyone in your database. That could be a lead, a referral. You got someone's name, phone number, email address, and you just want to stay in touch with them. You can have different campaigns just for those people. The next type of campaign you can have is also a property campaign. So of all those applications that you've taken over the years, you've built up a database of other properties that clients may own that you have never, ever actually financed yourself. No other CRM that's really out there, unless you're manually inputting it into the system, allows you to stay in touch with those just at a touch of a button. So those other properties that you haven't mortgaged, you can now turn on anniversary campaigns, mortgage maturity campaigns, because you have that information within your database. And that's the beauty of having your application system built right into your CRM. And then last but not least, you have deal-specific campaigns. So as you're moving through a transaction, you can have communication go out to the client when they're approved, when they've signed off on the commitment letter, when that referral partner needs to be notified what place you're at within that transaction with that customer. So all of that can be part of your deal-specific campaigns. So we have all those types of communication encompassed by those 3 types of campaigns you have going on there. You then have your channels that you can address. So Gary talked about the 5. Right from this CRM homepage, you're going to be able to see 4 of them. your emails. So that's your drip marketing that you're going to be staying in touch with people. You have your SMS. So all those text messages, campaigns that you have pre-built that will go out at different parts of the transaction or just to any contact in your database. We also allow you to stay in touch with social media, Instagram, Facebook, a couple other pieces that you'll be able to send different campaigns through social media channels. And then you have your mailouts, your magazines. There are the networks that have their stay in touch programs where you can opt into a 3-year plan or a 5-year plan. This will actually allow you to opt into those communication plans and have them participate in that. So all those types of channels you can see right here, okay? In addition, Gary talked about the phone calls. We already have built into your workflows how to ping you about all the phone calls and all the scripts that you have built up for different parts of the transactions or different contacts that you want to stay in touch with. So that's all built into your communication strategy. The next pieces that I'm going to show you are our actual console, which you can get to from this spot here, or you can get to it from your left-hand menu. And that left-hand menu is going to allow you to see your audience list, campaigns, and activities as well. Your console is really going to give you a history of what pieces of communication have gone out for the different types of campaigns. So as you can see from here, from January 6th to January the 12th, I've had the different number of campaigns go out for both my contacts, properties, and my deals, and a list of all those active campaigns that you can see down below. This is where you're going to get all your reporting around the delivery, the sent items, the open rates of the communication strategy that you have in place. So you can see here, I've sent 2,300 birthday emails to 210 contacts in this case. You'd be able to drill into that further to see the open rates, bounce rates, all those types of things right there at your fingertips. You also have all your other types of campaigns that you have. Again, it specifies contact, deal, property, and the channel that it's going from. You'll be able to actually sort those by the different channels as well as campaign types, so you can have a consolidated view of all of that. Jeff, I don't know if you want to touch on anything within the console or have any questions that have come up as we've gone through so far. You're just on mute. There you go.
Yeah, I've been answering some of the questions as they've come up, Kev, just while you were presenting. Yeah, I think the thing worth mentioning about the console and how it's different from the landing page, and this was something we got back in spades from the steering committee, is just people want to know that what they're doing has some level of effectiveness, who's reading it, what kind of campaigns may have sort of better viewership. So when you go down into that summary, active campaign summary, you can kind of see who's opening. Obviously, you're going to get responses on certain things. I think those of us that are in the business of building these CRM campaigns obviously tilt ourselves to the idea that sometimes we think because we've said something once to somebody, they've taken it in. And that's not necessarily true. It's a very attention deficit sort of society we live in. So sometimes it's good to communicate by email, but also supplement by SMS or to use social media. So don't think that there's a one size fits all, and you'll need to do cumulative things. And that's why we're so excited about this, because in Velocity, we've now given you a system to do business, but to have that same system help you get business is just a whole other double whammy. So we just thought this console was an important thing. And when we showed this to the steering committee, we've got nothing but great feedback, because it lets people understand how it is they need to tweak what they've got in place if they choose to make some more effective campaigns in place.
Great. Thanks, Jeff.
Kev, I just want to say to people that there's a lot of questions about data and data integrity. And so we'll talk a little bit about that more at the end for those people that are thinking about that in their own circumstance of how do I get my data in and so forth. So I want to make sure people know that even though I'm not answering each of those same questions one off in the Q&A, we will be addressing those at the end.
Great.
Okay.
Okay. So the next thing that I'm going to show everyone is the activity. One of the things that came through loud and clear from the steering committee was they wanted to see the communication or the types of communication when it was going out and the ability to stop it just in case maybe that customer had you've already talked to them, you don't want them to get some sort of communication. You have the ability to stop it from going out or modifying it before it's sent. So this whole activity piece allows you to see when something is going to be sent. You know, I've got 23 emails going out, 19 SMS from 5 different campaigns to who they're going to. And then again, I can approve them to go, or I can stop them if I don't want them to go. There's actually a notification bell right at the top here that tells you you need to actually approve a bunch of notifications that are going to go out, and allows you to do it from one central spot as well. So not only can you do it here, you'll also be given a message center notification that comes to your email that says, hey, here's the things that you're going to be going out to you every single day, and go in and actually action it to make sure it goes. Okay. Again, also from the homepage, pieces that we're going to come back to and touch on in a future presentation are our campaign creation and our templates. So the campaign creation, we are going to have a bunch of default campaigns. You're going to have the campaigns that you've become to know and love that you already have in Nexa and Client Manager. Those are already going to be built out for you, as well as different templates, and you'll be opted into them. You'll be able to go in and personalize or modify any one of those campaigns or templates to put your own spin or personal touch on it. So I don't want you to think that it's a one size fits all. You're going to be able to build what you want, when you want, and how you want to sound when it comes from you. So we are going to touch on that in a future campaign or future session. Okay. From here, I'm going to show you a couple other things, and that is our new closeout procedure. So one of the things that we heard from our steering committee was most CRM campaigns today, or CRM programs, it's very difficult for you to start and stop campaigns for deals that you had done previously. You're having to search up that old deal. You're having to go in there and make it inactive. What we've done is we've actually made it part of your closeout process of any new deal that you're working on. And it's done in 3 easy steps. And the whole process around our CRM, things are always done in 3 steps. So part of our closeout process is, number 1, you're going to merge your borrower. So Velocity is actually going to look for someone with the same name, same birth date, same email address, same SIN number, and say, hey, this person already resides in your database. It's going to amalgamate all the deals that you've done for that one person and put them under one contact. And that's the beauty of being sort of a client-centric system. From there, you can confirm what properties that client continues to own, and then you're able to manage the campaigns that you want to continue to go out. So that, when you get to that process, it looks very simple. You'll be able to see both contact and deal campaigns that are set up for that person. And you just simply be able to turn on or off the campaigns that you want to go or don't want to go from this closeout process. So it makes it one central point for you to start or stop your communication to your customers without having to go back into old deals. It's going to be done for you right from here. People were thrilled to see this because they found it super simple to actually do what they needed to do and not forget about turning on or off a previous campaign. Also, for the contact piece, you may find that, hey, this client, they don't like any communication about their birth date. You can actually go right into this contact campaign and turn off the birthday as well. So it's not just deal specific, it's also contact specific. So that is an easy piece to work with. The other piece that I'm going to show you is our actual new change to our contact page. So from your CRM, you'll be able to get into any contact. And because I said this is a client-based system as well as a deal-based system, your contact is where everything is amalgamated. We made changes last year to our whole contact card right at the top, where you can track all your different activity. So you can see email communication, SMS communication, any other notes about that person that you want to have within your database. You have your Castle opt-ins and your opt-outs. You'll see all their personal details, and then you can have their social media handles put in there for all your social media campaigns that you want to go forward. You then have a consolidated list of all of the deals that you've actually worked for that customer. So any new deals, any completed deals, and then you can manage all the properties that they own, assets, their previous address history, employment. So you have everything right at your fingertips. We also show you everyone that person is connected to, any co-borrowers, guarantors, any referral partners, solicitors. They're all part of that contact that's all centralized under one spot. And then you're actually able to manage the campaign. So if you have a client call you, or you're doing some follow-up calls with a customer, and they say, hey, just wanted to let you know I sold this property, you're able to, again, just whip into that contact card and be able to turn off those particular campaigns for that particular property or particular deal that you've done previously. So you have multiple points where you can start or stop your campaigns in a very simple place that you can go to. And again, the steering committee thought that this was amazing because it was super simple for them to see everything. Okay. Jeff, do you want to, any questions have come up before we move back to the others, the CRM piece?
Okay, but I think we're good. I mean, I think I would just want to reinforce how great the feedback was about that closeout process from our last presentation. And I think one of the things that we all know about CRM generally is that up till now, people have had to populate them all generally in a manual way. So this notion that you've got in every new transaction, that ability to say, what you want to opt people into, what campaigns they're getting into or not getting into, is just such a critical process. And it's why it's so important that your CRM is part of your operating platform, because you're more likely to have a better set of data, more accurate data, more updated data in order to get the right kind of messaging out to that client base.
Can I make one comment as well, Kev?
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
On this, and I'm sorry, I didn't mention it in my early one. There was a question about referral partners and accountants and lawyers and realtors, and absolutely, there's a section so you can market to them separately, and there's a note section on all of them. But it's interesting because I know we're going to give you all the opt-in, opt-out, triggers for anything that we're sending. But here is what I would absolutely encourage you to do, right? Like, you're never going to, very rarely are you going to offend a customer by staying in touch too often, as long as it's tastefully and proactive and giving advice. And that's everything that we're building and creating on this. So I want to be really careful, especially with sort of newer agents that, want to be control freaks, and this customer shouldn't get that, and this customer shouldn't get this. Like, follow our lead on this. We've been doing this for a long time. There's questions about autopilot. Autopilot has been our #1 lead generation for the DLC group for 12 years, which is going to be integrated. But it's really important that people just don't try to make too many arbitrary decisions thinking that maybe this person shouldn't get this and that. Just let it go out, let it stay in touch, let it do its job. You'll get a terrific return, a very, very high value return, rather than spending your time trying to decide who doesn't, get this and who shouldn't get this and who should get this. Even if somebody gets something that you might think is once too often or doesn't apply, you never know. It may not apply to them, but it may apply to somebody they know or a family member or a referral source. So I just want you to tick the box, take the campaigns and give it 12 months and then report back to us in 12 months and go, oh my goodness, you guys have knocked my socks off. Like, I've done more business because of this campaign than I had ever done in my previous 15 years in the business. So just wanted to make that mention, Kev, so we don't get too micro focused on opting in and out. Simple, say yes, take it, and then you'll be blown away by the results.
Yeah, to Gary's point, people in our industry haven't necessarily done a great job of communicating on a regular basis to customers. We know that the top agents do, and this, having everyone opt into something, like any other CRM program out there, you're going to have an unsubscribe. So if people don't want to get something, they can stop it themselves as that client. The nice part is you're notified if they opt out. So you can make a phone call, figure out, hey, was it something that they just didn't like? Or was it too much communication? So you can still communicate with them and decide, hey, I'm going to send something on a less frequent basis to this person, but you've been notified. They're still getting communication touch points, and you're letting them be in control of how they want to communicate with you. So I think that's a good point. All right, so one last piece that I want to show people is, I know I said we're going to touch on actual campaigns in a future session, but when you actually go to create campaigns, this is all around the step 1, 2, 3 that I just wanted to show you in the elegance of how we're building and setting up the CRM program. So when you're designing a campaign, you can see all of our different pre-built campaigns, or you can create your own and just say, hey, name it and let's get started. Again, step 1, step 2, step 3. Choose a contact campaign, property campaign, or a deal campaign. Your step 2 is, hey, how do I want to send this? Email, SMS, social, or stay in touch program. And then last but not least, you're going to choose a targeted campaign or a dynamic campaign. A targeted campaign is, to Gary's point about autopilot, newsletters, things like that. You have a list of people that you want to get something on a regular basis. Your targeted campaign is going to be built from reports that you may pull. Show me all my variable clients, or show me all my clients that are, over the age of 60, have a loan to value of less than 60%. And I'm going to do a reverse mortgage campaign to all those people. So those are targeted campaigns and part of your audience list of who you're going to target. A dynamic campaign is set off of different triggers. So, hey, when a deal gets to an approved status, I want this to go. Or, they have all their lender conditions are met, I want this to go. So those are the main differences between dynamic and targeted. Just as you're going to have right at your fingertips, you can figure out what you want to do. A lot of people will do targeted campaigns for those newsletters, for those rate updates, for the Bank of Canada notifications. And then your dynamic campaigns are, hey, I want whoever goes through this trigger to get this piece. So again, step 1, step 2, step 3, make it super simple for you. And like Gary and Jeff had said, we're going to have a bunch of these set up for you right off the get-go. So let them fly. And then if you want to turn off or change things, you can do that as well.
Yeah, I'm just going to let you know that I'm going to fall off here. I got a 10:45 that I got to jump onto. But I wanted to say thank you very much for having me on and allowing me to give my perspective. And to all of you on this call, thank you very, very much. As always, it doesn't matter who you are. If you want to get a hold of me or have a question, anybody in the industry, Gary@dlc.ca. Thanks very much, guys, and have a great day.
Thanks, Gary. Have a good one.
Thanks, Gary.
Bye-bye.
Kev, can I just add a little bit of context around this concept of a dynamic campaign, just so people clearly get it? Think of it this way, is if you had a client that sent you back a signed commitment letter and you now uploaded that commitment letter into Velocity, your deal, by virtue of how we've structured this for you, has now moved from an approved stage to an accepted stage. You could actually have a campaign that says, when a client is now called an accepted stage deal, this is the kind of content I want to go to them. It could start talking to them in that template about starting to consider getting their homeowner's insurance, thinking about MPP, maybe considering getting a mover. But all you've done to trigger that content getting out to the customer's inbox or to their SMS, to their mobile, is by virtue of uploading the commitment letter that they sent back to you. And that's what makes it dynamic, is you're working inside of your operating platform, just doing your job, moving your deal along status-wise, and it's changing the nature of the communication that's timely and pertinent to that customer based on their circumstance. And that's really the dividing point, but in my view, between dynamic and targeted. Okay?
Yeah, great. Okay, so that is sort of our demo in a nutshell of the system. Jeff, do you want to address some of the Q&A?
Yeah, I do. I want to talk about a couple of different things that people who are currently Velocity customers may already know. We have what we call already a active CRM system inside of Velocity, which allows you to build your own sort of current client experience. It's kind of like creating a daily to-do list so that you never miss out on the right kind of touch points. It can sync with your calendar, but it also acts as your daily to-do. And it tends to be where we drive today, most of those key touch points on phone calls. So we have more people using outbound phoning to stay connected at certain milestones in a transaction by using My Day, or what we would call our workflow process. So where Kevin was showing you those campaigns, it was showing you the 4 sort of delivery mechanism. The 5th one, meaning phone, tends to be in our more active campaign system, which is My Day. Okay. So I think the other thing that I just want to make sure that people also are aware of is that you want to find a way to, if you are an Exa or client manager user, start knowing that there is a mechanism to take that data out. As I said, we're going to have an import tool for you in about 3 or 4 weeks, together with the template creator. Kev, I don't know if you touched on our plans for maybe bringing in third-party contractors to help people accelerate their setup. Do you want to maybe touch on that briefly so people know that in addition to customer care and training, they can have some more dedicated support to get them out of the starting gate come April 1st?
Yeah, great point, Jeff. So we've heard from a lot of people that they really would like some help with A, cleaning up their database, and B, setting up their templates and campaigns that are more than the default campaigns. So we're bringing in a team of trained contractors to be able to do that. So if you want to, on a one-off basis, just pay for services, you'd be able to pay them directly to help clean up your database, set up your CRM, and they'll be fully trained on the Velocity CRM. There's other contractors as well, like Liz Hines is getting all trained up for the system, who many of you know from using with Client Manager. So people are going to be trained and be able to support you in your transition to the Velocity CRM. So those people will be available starting in March. That is when we will first have our upload tool available. So anyone that is on Next or Client Manager and has done an extract of their data from the system, you will be able to have that uploaded directly into the Velocity CRM with the current statuses. Now, if you're already a Velocity user, don't worry, it's not going to create duplicates of your data within Velocity. It will just update the statuses if you've been keeping your Client Manager or your Nexa up to date over Velocity. So things like that will just get updated as you go. So.
Okay, we only have a few more minutes, so I'm going to just kind of first touch on those things that came up in the Q&A that were mentioned a few times. There's a number of people that asked about the recording of this meeting. We recorded both last Thursday's meeting and today's meeting. We're going to go through, do a few little edits, and then we will get this distributed. I will tell you this, we will share it with each of the 3 networks. They may or may not choose to send it out by email or put it on their video channels. We will absolutely have it up in our YouTube channel. We'll probably send it out as a link through our email blasts, and we'll be putting it on the Velocity social media pages with a link. So for those that want to share it with their team, want to review it after, we are going to make sure that that gets out there, and it'll probably take us a couple of days. I'd say by the end of business Thursday at the latest, the recording will be available for you to use as you want it. So that's one thing. I've had a lot of people asking about Zapier and this whole concept of moving data around, Kevin. I think what we need to do is, and Zapier has become like a term like Xerox or aspirin, right? They think of it as that's how I move data. So maybe you could speak to a little bit about the 2 Velocity API services that exist today, how somebody might want to use those in terms of populating their dashboard and or the CRM, and how that information could also serve them going out should they choose to have other systems to supplement their processes.
Yeah, sounds great, Jeff. So as Jeff mentioned, we have 2 APIs that are now available. We first came out with our Velocity In API. What that allows you to do is either have a contact me form. So if you have your old lead gen form that you want to push into Velocity, you are able to do that from an outside form. In addition to that, you can actually have a full application. If you love your style of application and you prefer it to the Velocity one, you can actually have your application push into Velocity so you can actually do your deal submission once it's ingested into Velocity. So that is the API in. The API out allows you to take data out of Velocity. So we have 60 plus fields that you are able to take out. So that could populate a Zapier or a Jungo or any other sort of third-party CRM program, and have that data populate your CRM so you can have your different triggers fire from those CRMs. So your choice on what you do. We've had a few people do the API in, but we've had a lot of requests for the API out for people that are running their own third-party CRM programs. So, you control what you want to do. We're not going to say you have to use the Velocity CRM. If you have a Jungo program that you love today, feel free to populate that with your Velocity submissions that you can just pipe out right into Jungo or any other CRM.
So we do it through our API keys as opposed to through Zapier, just so people know. So it's just a different means by which to move data. So the good news is our Velocity API out is all, I think it's on number, it's like 60 different data fields, including all applicant data, all contact detail, all employment detail, and all property detail, right? Whereas some of the other systems are maybe 20, 25 fields and don't necessarily give you that opportunity to just be able to go once you've got that data into your CRM. You still got to supplement it with other content. And again, well, we all know this, once you have to do stuff manually or you supplement it, affects the quality of your data set and it affects your ability to execute in a quick manner. A lot of things here in the Q&A, Kev, have a lot to do with control. You know, when I do dynamic, does it go out automatically? Can I stop it? I think really what we want to say to people is that this is not a one-size-fits-all CRM. That is really the reason to have 30 people on your steering committee, is that so that you give people the ability to execute quickly, but you have to have enough elegance in what it is you've designed so that they can feel that they can be set up automatically, but it allows them to run their business person by person by person, so that you have the ability to kind of intercede where you want to, or just let it go where you want to. So please know that that's going to be the circumstance with which we are going to set up and deliver on this offering called CRM inside your system. Is you're in the driver's seat. We're just giving you the opportunity to execute to as an automated a fashion as you can, and to where you want to involve. Let me give you an example. We had a guy who set up a dynamic campaign, wanted to let his client know about his commitment, phoned them up and said, "Hey, the mortgage has been all approved." And they all went, "Yeah, I know." I said, "What do you mean you know?" "Well, I just got your email to say we were approved." And he had forgotten that actually the client was reading the commitment prior to him being able to make that phone call. That's how quickly it fired, because it was dynamic. So he was a person that said, "I don't like that. I want to be the first point of entry to let that client know they're approved." So he adjusted his system accordingly and made it so that it went out a day after the approval, just as a reminder, or in the event that he didn't reach them right away on the phone. So you are in the driver's seat, and we're there to support you with all the tools and all these delivery channels and the way to get that right messaging to the right customer. Okay, Kev, did we talk about the third-party contractors and I missed it, or did you?
We did.
Okay. So I think that's something we're going to see a lot of demand for. People are going to probably want to reach into their pockets and pay these people for a couple hours of labor just to make sure that they are not finding themselves having to learn everything. And not that there's a lot to learn, but there is some to learn while they're trying to continue to do mortgage business and serve their customers in a proactive way. So we really want to make sure that those people are available to you. And I think the training will really begin to ramp up for a lot of those parties as we get into early March, don't you, Kev? So we give people kind of a 30-day runway to get data in, get campaigns set up, make sure your branding's on par, and everything else is there. The other thing, I think Gary mentioned it briefly, was talking, a lot of things people are asking about autopilot in the newsletter. So Kev, maybe you want to just mention that there will be plans for a newsletter here, but certainly people can make the choice to whatever platform they want to continue to use. Because the one thing people are asking is, can I import my autopilot data into the Velocity CRM?
Yeah. So again, great question. Yes, you will be able to import lists into your targeted lists. So if you are running your newsletters and things like that from autopilot, the networks, all networks, or all three networks, MA, MCC, and DLC, they will still have the ability to populate your newsletters and regular communications that go out to your clients directly into the Velocity CRM, and then you can push it out to those clients. Any default or templated things that the networks create will also be available to you in the Velocity CRM as well as autopilot. So those pieces, and I think Gary did mention he does feel it will replace or help supplement what autopilot is doing today. For other networks or other offices that are outside the DLC group, offices will be able to create templates and campaigns for their entire offices. So if you want to do a particular campaign and create it for all your agents, you will be able to do that as well. So you can either modify our existing default campaigns, create brand new ones. Again, you'll be able to do that for everyone in your office.
Had a few questions about mobile and mobile integration. Let's let people know that we do think mobile will become another delivery channel. We have got a plan in place, and we're working with Ben Digi Technologies that runs the Canadian Mortgage app, as well as the 3 branded apps within DLC Group, to do what we call push notifications, meaning that our first version of that will be when people are doing new applications or document uploads from a client into Velocity, they'll be notified on their mobile, so it doesn't require a login to have notification. But we have every intention of taking that same methodology and using it for CRM, so that for your clients to download your app, to give them purpose to keep it on their phone, we're going to have some means by which to communicate, whether it be some of the, what we would consider an SMS message, but within the mobile app, that content. So you're going to see more and more mobile integration. We're also working with Ben on delivering discovery and our interest rates on the mortgages for the mobile app as well. So you don't have to go after the portal Velocity. So mobile is a big part of our strategy going forward. And to that, I've had a few questions on there about SMS and the SMS number. Will it be the same as the agent's phone number, Kev? So maybe you can explain to people when they use the SMS integrated technology with Twilio, what changes when they don't do it from their mobile phone?
Yeah, again, great question. So last year we launched our SMS directly from Velocity and the deals. It requires that you sign up with Twilio and you do get a new number. And part of the reason for that is when you send a text message from the system, you don't want it to come back to your phone, because what happens is all those messages look like they're coming from one person. You can't differentiate who they're actually coming from because they're all in the same string of communication. So the way our technology is built with Twilio is you send out that text message to that client, they respond, you're going to get both a message sender notification as well as an email that's going to allow you to stay in touch and know who that communication came from. It will also log it in the contact of that customer. So you'll have the whole communication string with that contact right within your database. So you don't ever have to worry about switching phones, losing your text message, dropping your phone in the water. You don't have to worry about all that because it's actually going to be directly in the Velocity platform for you.
One of the best things about putting SMS inside Velocity is no more autocorrect. You get a full keyboard and it logs everything. So you got a communication history. So if you're using SMS as a primary means to stay connected to your contacts, particularly your customers, and you happen to deal with a regulatory audit, you've got the entire communications inside of that contact as well as the deal. So it just makes it simpler to use it. And we see more and more people opting in to use SMS, knowing they don't have to go through their whole messages icon on their phone to figure out who they sent what to and when. So really, really good tool just for the purposes of managing this messaging sort of platform. Kev, we have just a couple more minutes, but a couple of other questions about, I think it was Jim Quanted asking about, we mentioned Blue Mortgage. Is that going to be the Velocity CRM? No, Jim. What it means is that if you choose to use Blue Mortgage in lieu of Velocity CRM, we're quite happy to assist in giving you the means by which to take your data out of Velocity to populate Blue. So it's much more automated in your work with it. We really wanted to do that because we recognize that there's people that have already created dependencies on other CRM programs. And as much as this might develop and deliver some real additions for them, they're really tied into what they've already got. And we don't want people to have to feel that they have to transition if they don't want to. So it keeps people wanting to come onto Velocity and still maintain their current CRM solution if it's working for them.
Yeah. Jeff, I think one question from Charlene in regards to the API keys. So for those that are aware that you can actually get your API key directly in Velocity in your settings section, that API key is actually good for both in and out. So there is actually, once you request it, there's no approval. Once you receive the key, it is good to go to your provider so that they can hook up with the API for Velocity in or out.
Okay, great. We're coming up on the hour. I want to thank everybody who came. We still have 250 participants that have stayed with us this entire hour. Thank you very, very much. I want to encourage everybody, if you're not connected to us, get on to our social media platforms, whether it be Velocity Newton Connectivity Systems or our Velocity community page, where there's tons of peer-to-peer learning that go on in Facebook as well. Please watch for the email blasts and look in your message center on your Velocity homepage. You'll see updates around CRM. I know that Dong Lee from the DLC group, our CEO, has also been putting out some direct correspondences around the Nexa updates, FAQs, as well as updated videos. So please have your antenna up and open up those emails, as well as looking at your network's social media platforms and seeing what's what. Thank you very much. Thanks, Kev. Good presentation. And we'll let everybody go and watch for the recording to be out there to share with other team members that weren't able to attend today or to review at a later date. We'll look forward to giving you all another update in about 3-4 weeks. If you liked what you saw today, get on to some of those various platforms socially and tell everybody in our industry that this is where CRM is going and that you're looking forward to working with us. Thank you very much, and we'll talk to you again.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.